You guys have been asking me a lot on what kind of transitions that I use in my videos, and the thing is that I don't use any transitions at all, because everything that you saw is done in camera and just like cut together really neatly when I get into the editing process. And the cool thing with these transitions is that you can use any kind of camera to do that. You can use a smartphone, you can use a DSLR, a GoPro, or whichever camera that you got, as long as you do it right. So we're gonna go through a couple of transitions that I use in my videos almost all the time to like take them to that next level. And we're gonna use my smartphone for this. We're gonna use my Samsung Galaxy S10. But before we get to that, I'm just gonna say thank you so much to everyone that has subscribed recently. You guys rock, so thank you for being here. And if this is your first time watching me, then you might wanna consider hitting that subscribe button, because that'd be appreciated. I have been pushing out videos lately for you guys to enjoy, but you know what? I'm having a really good time creating these videos for you. And we got a saying here in Sweden that du måste smida medan järnet är varmt. And that is basically you gotta forge while the iron is hot. And looking at the growth on the channel lately, I am forging while the iron is hot. So thank you for being here. So the first in-camera transition is actually a really simple one, and that is basically going to black and then from black. And I'm gonna show you what I mean. So you wanna take your camera and then you wanna go into your subject or into the ground or whatever it is that you can come up with. And then in the next shot that you got, you wanna go from black to showing off your subject, or from your hand showing off. And the cool thing with this transition is that you can use this a lot, especially when like covering the lens like that and then being in a different place. But what is going to be really important when you're doing these kind of transitions is that you set the exposure in your camera manually, so that your camera don't like try to overexpose when you are trying to cover the lens, because then the image might not be as dark as you want the lens to be. The second transition that I use a lot in my videos is following the movement. So say for example that you got a car driving from left to right, then in the next shot you want to have something that is going from left to right. So when you are panning your camera like that, if you do that in both shots, then you can just do a hard cut between them, and that will feel more natural because both subjects in the shots are going at the same direction. And you really want to think about how your subject is moving when you're doing this kind of transition, because if your subject is moving from left to right, then in the second shot your subject can be moving from right to left, because that is going to be like, it's not gonna work. It's gonna feel weird. Always follow the movement of the shot that you got. The third transition is going to be like spin your phone. And that is gonna be a really simple one. It works best when you're shooting in 120 frames per second because the spin is going so fast. But what you wanna do is basically like hold your phone with one hand and then move back and then spin your phone like that. And then you gotta remember which side you had up at first. So for example, if you have like the power button up, then you spin around, and when you get to the new place that you want to transition to, then you like make sure that that side that you had up in the beginning is down. So then you do that again like that, and then you have a really cool like spin transition effect that is done all in camera. Kind of cool, right? The fourth transition is going to be like a really simple one, and that is going to be like panning behind the subject, because when you do that in the first shot, so say for example that you're going like that, in your second shot you want to start the clip right here and then keep panning. So when you get to the editing process, you just cut those two clips together and it's going to feel like a seamless transition that is panning from one location to another location without you guys even noticing it. So it's a really cool one, and I highly recommend you try it out. The fifth and last transition that I use in almost all of my B-roll videos is gonna be like the swipe or the whip pan transition. This is a really cool one that is super simple to do, and I actually do think it's gonna look the best when you're shooting it at 24-25 frames per second, because then you get a lot of motion blur in the shot. So to achieve that transition, what you want to do is basically like shoot your subject and then whip out like that. You can whip out whatever way that you want, but always remember that you want to try to follow the movement of the subject that you're shooting. But what you need to remember with this is that you want the end frame of your shot to match the beginning of your second shot. So try to plan your shots out and try to find something that will fit together. So say for example that you are panning down like that, then you can't pan in from the blue sky, because it's gonna be really jarring, because the end frame of the first clip is probably going to be something that is dark because you dragged it down towards the ground, and the second clip is going to be a bright blue sky, and that is not going to be a seamless like transition when you edit that together. So what you can do instead is that the first clip you pan down, so in the second shot you can start your shot from something that has the same kind of color as the ground has, and then basically just like transition in like that or move like that. And that is also kind of why you want to plan out your shots, because if you just take your camera and go out and whip around everywhere, you know, whip like that, it's gonna be really hard for you to like get a cool sequence pieced together when you get to the editing process. So for example, in this shot where Oscar is welding, you can see that the camera is whipping out to the left at the end, and then as the second clip begins, I am whipping in from the left. Try to plan your shots. So there you go. I really hope that you learned something from this video, and now you can go out into the world, whip pan your way through all the different things that you do and include that into your vlogs. If you like the video, please do give it a thumbs up because it does help a lot. And if you haven't subscribed yet, that'd be highly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching, and Peter again from Sweden here in the northern of Europe, out.